Hi, this is Kathie. Welcome to Craft with Kathie.
As we go along, feel free to comment or ask any questions that you may have. And as soon as I see your comment, I will respond. I just wanted to do something a little special today, or a little unusual. I know some of you have this board and base and have used the Try Me kits and whatever. And, you know, I do stress that the chalkboard is reusable. Obviously, you spritz it with water, wipe it off with a paper towel, and then you could put another image or saying on it. But sometimes you create something that you don't want to get rid of. So what do? Well, sure, you could buy another board and base, but I have another idea for you. The board and base comes with a 5x7 chalkboard that fits horizontally or vertically. But if you've already used this chalkboard both sides and you don't want to remove what you've already done, consider using one of our simple shapes. Now, it's a little bit smaller. It's 6 inches by 6 inches, so a little bit wider, but it fits perfectly in the board and base. So this is a way that if you don't want to erase what you've got here and you don't want to buy another board and base, consider the simple shapes. Simple shapes come as a set of 2 6x6 squares and 2 6-inch in diameter circles. I think they were originally intended to be used with the welcome sign as interchangeable for the O or whatever, but we're finding lots of different ways to use them. So for this today, I'm going to give you a little demo using the simple shape. Simple shape is whitewashed wood. So because it's wood, I want to start by waxing it first. And you're probably familiar with the routine. Just rub it in, rub it off. No reason to wait for the paste wax to dry in between. So I'm going to take a little piece of paper towel, dip it in the paste wax, rub it in all over my surface. And then I'm going to rub it off. And I know I went off the edge a little bit and got some wax on the side. Let me wipe that up. Okay, and now I'm just going to rub it off. This acts as somewhat of a barrier so that the wood doesn't absorb the pigmentation of the chalk paste quite as quickly in case you make a mistake and need to erase anything. And it also protects the adhesive back of the transfer so it doesn't pick up any loose fibers or a splinter or anything like that. And then the other day I did something by accident, grabbed a paper towel that I had chalk paste on and used it to wipe up my surface where I ended up getting chalk paste where I didn't intend to. And I realized, oh, look it. By doing that, I inadvertently smeared the chalk paste on my surface, but I actually kind of like stained where the wood grain is. So I'm going to use that technique right now. This is our Couture teal. Chalk paste, and it's paste, it's not paint. It is actually made from chalk. So totally different from chalk paint. I'm going to put a little dab, a little really goes a long way, in my little, I can't even think of what to call it. Or little color or chalk trays. And I'm going to spritz a little water in it and mix it up. So I'm basically thinning it down. Oops, I might have thinned this down a little bit too much, but it's fine for what I'm doing. When you're using our chalk paste, you always want to make sure it's the consistency of yogurt or sour cream. And this is fine. This is one of our new Creamy Dreamy pastes. It's really whipped and just absolutely beautiful just by itself, but I want to water it down because I'm going to use it to kind of whitewash using Couture Teal the surface of one of these simple shapes. And I'm just grabbing a little baby wipe to apply it with. Don't you love it when you go to grab one and a whole bunch come out of the package? Let me close this up and get it out of the way. You want to go all the way to the edges. I suppose I could have made this ombre if I had thought about it or considered it. Okay, let me put this aside and get a clean wipe, and then I'm going to wipe it off. The longer I leave it on, the darker it's going to actually become. And actually it's a little bit darker than I expected, but this is fine. I think it's a very pretty color, and it'll actually match some of the other things that I've been doing recently with the Couture Teal. Let me get that fingerprint off the edge. Thumbprint. Now, if I didn't like this and I wanted to make it a little bit more rustic, I could come in here with my sanding block and actually take off a little bit. But I think I won't worry about that for right now. So I'm going to just put this aside. Let me clean up my surface a little bit. Get my color tray out of the way. I won't be needing that again. Okay. So the transfer that I'm going to put on here is called Best Family Ever. It's one of our A-size transfers. So it's 5 by 7, and it actually is 2 pieces. There's a little leaf motif at the bottom, and I'm going to cut that apart on the cutting line. Our transfers are made from vinyl and silkscreen. The teal is the vinyl. What you're seeing through to the white backing is the silkscreen. And I'm grabbing a fuzzing cloth because before I apply this to my surface, I'm going to fuzz the transfer. I'm also going to put this more upwards toward the top because I have to remember part of this is going to fit in the base. So the reason behind fuzzing is to deliberately apply lint. Ooh, look at how sticky they are. Our transfers are reusable, adhesive backed. So I'm going to deliberately apply fuzz or lint to the back of this transfer so that it doesn't stick as snugly as it would if I didn't. This just makes it easier to pull the transfer up off the surface. Now I know I'm applying it to wood, but if I was applying it to glass or mirror or metal, I would fuzz it much more than I am right now because they're harder. Would create a great adhesion to it, and it'd be harder to lift up. And you don't want to tug at your transfers when you lift them up because you don't want them to stretch or become distorted. But if you fuzz it, it's fine. Oops, what did I forget? I've applied chalk paste here with a little bit of water. I need to reapply some wax so that that paste doesn't pull up on the back of my transfer. And this is actually going to lighten this up a bit. Ooh, really grabbed too much paste. Because I was going for the stained look or the wood grain. Oh, not enough sleep last night. What could I say? 2 hours just doesn't cut it for me. So again, I'm just rubbing in and then rubbing off. No reason to let it dry in between. What I was going for, let me show you what I did the other day when I inadvertently did this to my surface. I was using the welcome tile and grabbed a paper towel because I had gotten some chalk paste on the frame and didn't realize the paper towel was wet, and when I went to wipe, I actually smeared some of watered down or wet from my paper towel chalk paste into the background, and I really liked how that turned out, hence today's little project. So, big difference, but doesn't it look kind of cool? Get the wax off my fingers. Now, I'm going to put this transfer on up at the top because I want to leave room at the base for my little sprig of leaves and also for it to fit into the board. Okay, and I'm just smoothing it down, making sure I don't have any air bubbles underneath the transfer. And I'm going to use our Shimmer Shadow Black Paste. Just keeping in tune with the teal and the black that I did the other day. Just applying it to the transfer with my little stir stick. And then I'm going to take a squeegee and smooth this over the silk screen, pushing it through the silk screen to the surface below. I just want to make sure that all the silk screen is covered. I'm removing any excess paste, returning it to my jar. Oops, I missed just the edge of that letter. Saw a little bit of white peeking through. So, remove the excess. I'm making sure there aren't any lines in my silk screen. Quick and easy. No weeding, no playing around. I did that quicker than I could load vinyl. Okay, so I'm going to lift up my transfer from the bottom. Either pick top, bottom, left or right. Never pull or tug on the corners because it is like fabric and you don't want to stretch or distort it. I'm going to put this aside to rinse in the sink and remove my chalk paste when I'm done. Adhesive side up, of course. Oops, look good. I have a little bit of teal over here. Let me wipe that off. Okay, don't know where I picked that up from. Oops, probably my fingers. Now I want to put this little sprig at the bottom. I'm going to put it one direction and then the other direction. So before I apply it to my surface, I have to fuzz it. Just like I fuzzed the lettering. And this I think I'm going to do with the Harvest Shimmer. A little bit of contrasting color here. I'm not laying it down over my lettering. I'm going to hold it up because I really didn't wait for it to dry. Grab a little paste, put it down in my transfer. and squeegee it over the silk screen. Remove any excess and lift it up. And then I'm going to apply it right back down to get another sprig in the gold right there. Make sure I have good coverage, remove the excess. This time I'm going to load it back into my jar. And lift my transfer. I'm going to let this dry. I overlapped the foliage a little bit, so I'm going to have to come back in there and fix this. So I'm going to put this on the side to dry, and I'm going to show you how you clean your transfer. You could put this in a water bath, remove the excess paste, or I'm going to do it right on my surface. And I'm going to spritz some water down so that when I put the adhesive side down, it doesn't stick to my surface, and a little water over the top of the transfer. So I'm going to take a disinfectant wipe, which appears that I've misplaced. If you don't have disinfectant wipes, and let's face it, we were all struggling to find them last year, right? What you can use is a board eraser. Wet the board eraser and use it to clean off your transfer. Now, otherwise, I would just be using the disinfecting wipe and wiping it off, flipping it over, removing the paste from the back, and removing any lint. That's easy enough. The benefit of using the board eraser is if you're using black paste, it will somewhat eliminate the staining of the transfer. Staining of the transfer in no way affects its usability. But if you don't like how it looks, you can use the board eraser to diminish any staining to the transfer. Remember, our transfers are reusable 8 to 12 times or more. So obviously with a lot of use, using darker pigments, they could very well get stained by the chalk paste. Okay, our fuzzing towels are two-sided. One side is terry, the other is microfiber. I use the terry to apply the fuzz. Now I'm going to use the microfiber to speed up the drying of this transfer. I'm putting it on the microfiber, adhesive side up. I'm going to fold over the microfiber and gently squeeze out any moisture from the transfer. This helps it speeds the drying, and it already has begun to rejuvenate the adhesiveness of the backing. So while I wait for that to finish drying, let me cap up my black shimmer paste. Our shimmer pastes take a little bit longer to dry, and they have a little bit of sparkle. I don't know if you could see the sparkle in the black. The gold is still, or the harvest shimmer is still wet, but see that little bit of sparkliness that the black has? And I just noticed I have a little paste on the edge of my surface, so let me wipe that up. Our chalk paste is water soluble, so cleanup's easy. Just water to wipe it off of a chalkboard, or dry erase, or mirror, or metal. Wood, you know, there's a little bit of, it might stain. So if it stains your wood and you don't like how it turned out, or you made an oops, just paint it and do it again. But that's really why I love my favorite surface, definitely hands down chalkboard or either our black chalkboard or our white, or dry erase. It's pretty cool. Metal can be very impressive, but it does stick very strongly to metal and glass. So if you're using a very large transfer, it could be a little bit tricky in that you might need another set of hands to help you hold down it while you lift it up or whatever. Kind of like how you can use another hand sometimes when you're tying bows or making a knot in a bow. Not quite dry. Our chalk paste actually dries, goes on liquid, but dries hard. Excuse me. And when it's dry, it'll have a matte finish to it. So I could see the gold or the harvest shimmer here is still not totally dry. Part of it's got a little bit of a matte look and part of it is still shiny. So it's still a little wet. So I'll wait on that. This looks like it's pretty much dry. Here's a tip for storing your transfers. Once this is dry, I need to put the backing on it. And the backing has one side that's shiny, kind of almost like a waxy feel to it, the other side that's dull. You always put the shiny side against the adhesive side. That prohibits the adhesive from sticking to anything else. And what you want to do is you want to apply the backer to the transfer. Line it up here, not the transfer to the backer. It's backwards.
Much easier to apply the backer to the transfer when the transfer's on the bottom.
And then go ahead and put your transfers in their little cellophane envelopes that they come in. All of our transfers have instructions as to how to use them and how to care for them on the cellophane. So if you forget something, there's always a little hint here. Okay, I need to fuzz this on my cherry. And now I'm going to lay it over my surface, cover up what I've done, and re-chalk the area that I smudged or wiped off. I'm pressing it down gently. I grab the correct squeegee here, the one with the harvest shimmer paste. And I'm just doing the bottom two leaves and the stem. Then I'm going to lift it up. And I need it to dry before I could add that little edge, unless I'm really careful and just do the bottom here. I don't know if I could be that careful with it. No guts, no glory, right? Let's see. Need to bring it a little bit closer to me, I'm sorry, so that I can see what I'm doing here. Okay. I very gingerly press down here because I don't want to go over what I've already chalked, and I just need a teeny little bit that I have enough on my squeegee to actually do it. There we go. Voila. Simple, quick. I don't know if it's going to fit in here without smearing. Okay, there you go. It needs to dry, obviously. Extra way of getting some more use out of your board and base. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.